I want to speak to you as an adult, and not somebody does political commentary just to try to get as many clicks as possible. Though clicks are great, and I appreciate you subscribing to the channel and liking the video and all that stuff. But I want to speak to you as an adult. And let me explain one thing. I don't know what happened to Bobby Kennedy. I don't know what I thought Bobby Kennedy was. I have no idea what happened to the Libertarian Party or what libertarians have become and what they are. I remember when libertarians were cool. There was a time in my nascent political adult life when I used to say I'm libertarian before it was cool, before people knew what it meant, before people confused it with liberal. And the old joke was it's a Republican who wants to smoke dope. And they stood for very, very smart, positions about, liberty and government and personal liberty and staying out of the bedroom and guns. And it just made sense. It was kind of a default political party. When you didn't know what to say, you'd say libertarian. And pretty much whatever you said would apply. It would say, well, that's it. I knew Harry Brown very well, supported him, loved the idea. Harry Brown was the libertarian candidate, and he said, I'll never forget this. His favorite line was, if I was president, Washington would be a ghost town. And I loved it. And nobody really knew what it meant. And maybe that's why I liked it. And then it just went off the rails. I don't know what happened. It became something else. And it became a joke. And there were pockets of libertarian ideas, Mises and Hayek and others who spoke of this. And there were, Mont Pelerin Society and, the whole notion of, Ron Paul and Rand Paul. Yeah. But they were like the exceptions, or they were parts of the libertarian visage, horizon, periodic table that we thought made sense. And then it just, I don't know what it turned into. And then came Bobby Kennedy. And Bobby Kennedy, when he first came out, I thought ran. I thought this was going to be really something, because I don't know about you, but anybody who, at least the Bobby Kennedy I thought, he was rational environmentalism. He wanted to, the Hudson River projects and the environment, making the air clean and the water clean. And I dug that. Not Greta Thunberg, how dare you? None of that stuff, just rational environmentalism, cleaning things up. Air, water, vistas. He was a falconer, or is. I thought the greatest thing ever. That's one of the things I wish I could do, was to be a falconer. Everything was great. And what he did regarding his bravery about vaccines and epidemiology and immunology and daring to make connections between autism and whether it's true or not or proposed. My God, he spoke on behalf of so many people. He was this revolutionary. It was great. In the spirit of what I thought the Kennedys were about. So what I thought. And then his own family turned on him, which is even better, because I despise them. Especially this Schlossberg, who seriously, I would say immediately, just as an observer, two things, Caroline. Two things. Number one, perhaps an intervention or some type of psychiatric evaluation and review, and drug testing. This isn't right. This isn't right. He's trying to channel his uncle. And it's weird. It's strange. But you know what? I don't care. I've never been impressed with that clan. Never. They are the most overrated group of people in the annals of American history. John Kennedy is whatever you think he is. And Bobby Kennedy, John Kennedy would be alive today if it wasn't for Bobby Kennedy. Okay? These bastions of civil rights activism were responsible for tapping the phones and surveilling Dr. King. But that's another story. But I liked Bobby. I liked him. He made sense. And then, number one, he makes this statement at a private dinner or something on the Upper East Side, an Italian restaurant. Somebody overheard him, and he dared to suggest that maybe either viruses can be genetically engineered or fixed or adjusted to allow for specific targeting of individuals based upon either genomic targeting or whatever the particular nomenclature is, Ashkenazi Jews or Asians or what have you. Somebody heard this, and somehow, through this weird transmutation of what anti-Semitism means, anti-Semitism is everything. It has surpassed racism as the most overused, inapplicable, pejorative, and accusation for everything. We'll get to that later. So he didn't know what to do. He teams with a gentleman by the name of Rabbi Shmuley Botiach, and they're off to the races. And this guy comes across, I've never heard. I saw him when he spoke at the Glass House here in New York, and could not believe it. Bobby Kennedy was not only super Israeli patriot, super Zionist, and I'm not saying this as a pejorative. I'm saying this man was, who knew? Who knew he was, it was the most full-throated defense, and fine, okay. Then came October the 7th. Do the math. Everything changed. The Great Reset, yet again. We've had so many great resets. I've been using that Schwabian term over and over again. Then he did that. Then we find out he says crazy things about guns, crazy things about the environment, crazy things about climate, crazy things about I don't know what. Then I start finding more and more about him, and I start thinking, I hope he's okay. When you're a young man, and your father and your uncle, but your father specifically has been targeted and assassinated, do you know what that does to you? Do you know what that does? What it does to yourself to your sense of being tethered and moored in reality. It can provide a tremendous stigma and condition, if you will. Okay, fair enough. Not to mention he's had heroin issues, and I don't know how you just get over that. I don't know if he's seeking treatment, if he goes to meetings. I have no idea. I have no idea about relapsing. I don't know. We always in the real world always encourage people, if you have any kind of a substance problem, to seek help, seek some type of means of addressing it. But then again, you got to ask the question, well, what happens if he has a relapse? How do you go to a meeting? Do you go? This is like the Tony Soprano dilemma. You can't necessarily. The pressures of this. Then he gets this Kennedy-Shanahan, who I don't know where this. I know why she's there. She's a checkbook, for God's sakes. But this woman and her drug use, alleged and otherwise, and this crazy stuff she said she gave a speech about Bobby Kennedy, and the reason why we should vote for him is that his uncle and his father were shot in the head. I swear to you, I saw this the other day, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what is happening here? And then the Libertarians, he gets on the ballot, and doesn't even win. He loses to some feller who doesn't mind drag shows for kids. I know people don't want to talk about that. I know people don't like to talk about it. I don't want to bring this trope up again, but this is sheer absolute lunacy. What are you talking about? This is the thing which makes me think, oh, you're nuts. Chase Oliver, great. Sounds like a great name for like a soap opera character, somebody from Dynasty. Okay, fine. Now, the old days, people would ask the question, does this in some way, is this going to inure to the benefit or the detriment of President Trump? Is this going to somehow hurt things? Is this going to screw things up? How is this going to affect him? How is this going to affect him? Well, it's interesting to note. It's a fascinating subject. And the best part is that the Libertarians pull, 3% maximum? Okay, fine. And along with Cornel West and Jill Stein, bless their hearts, but it's good news for Trump. And Trump bearded the lion in its den by daring to walk in and say, look, I'm here, I don't care. Vivek Ramaswamy, whom I do not trust or do not care for in the least, did an absolute brilliant job in basically telling the Libertarians that Bobby Kennedy ain't a Libertarian. Vivek, by the way, is going to he's going to be a great cabinet position. Absolutely. By the way, if there is a God, John Mearsheimer will be the Secretary of State. But I digress for President Trump. I digress. So the good news is everything looks terrific for Trump. He has greased the skids and on his way to re-election. But I can't believe that in this year, and by the way, this election is going to be a referendum against silliness and craziness. The Sarah Huckabee Sanders notion that this is not about good versus evil, left versus right, it's normal versus crazy. To have somebody to think that the Libertarians would have this, and the screaming and the yelling and this kind of like an Animal House meets Jerry Springer, but you would think that with all that's going on right now, the Libertarians would say, you know what, we have to really show the world that we mean business. And instead, this. So Bobby Kennedy and Nicole Shanahan and the Libertarian Party, Dumb and Dumber meets Clueless. Absolutely shocking to think that somebody would be this idiotic, this crazed, this demented as to allow this to even be aired, unless this is just a political theater this is some weird kabuki dance that you get a big kick out of. Thank you for watching. Have a great and a glorious day. I ask you right now to please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. And whatever you do, I beg, beseech, implore, and import you to comment as you see fit.